starting to call me the GOAT, yeah, yeah. They starting to call me the GOAT, yeah, yeah. They starting to call me the GOAT, yeah, yeah. I told a bad bitch, give me dope, yeah, yeah. All of my niggas afloat, yeah, yeah. 20s all over the float, yeah, yeah. Money all over the float, yeah, yeah. Now they say I am
Parting that we used yesterday, which is diagonal, right? So we're going back to horizontal because this is pretty much almost the same as 0 degree. Everything on top is going to be, you know, straight. We're using horizontal partings, okay? This would be a little bit more aware of, you know, horizontal partings on a curved surface because it can get a little, you know, confusing and complicated. I'm going to just continue to part just so I can show you what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do, because eventually on the 2 sections in the back, you know, kind of like you wind up getting a little bit lost. So that's a horizontal part, horizontal part, horizontal part. Always, if you're not sure, is this parallel to the floor? That's all you gotta think of, okay? Horizontal part, keep going straight, just like this. I can guarantee you, once you hit this occipital area, you will not have any more hair to cut. So this would be kind of like the only area that, you know, not that it happens always that way, but it happens with our mannequins because they're kind of like short at that point, okay? So what is the wrong parting that some of you hopefully might not do, or hopefully will not do? You kind of like go this way. You're following the curve of the head, right? Kind of like it's like an instinct that you're doing this. But does this look horizontal to you? No, right? This is diagonal almost. You can tell right away, right? No parallel to the floor. So just pay attention to that. Sometimes by doing the wrong parting, we'll make this corner here be a little bit shorter. So that's kind of like what we need to avoid. So I'm going to start on the top, and I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my guide, okay? When it comes to a 180-degree haircut, you want to make sure where you want your guide, well, where the client wants the guide, right? Because you're creating long layers, and typically it's done on longer hair, so you have an option to start your layers starting from the chin, or starting from your neck, or even lower, depending on kind of like how much do they want. So before you set that guide, you really want to, you know precisely where it is. So before you cut, you're going to do this move, and it really helps you. Before you cut, right, I'm going to bring it down just to have an idea where my shortest layer will start, okay? Then if you feel like this is too high, then obviously you can kind of like raise your fingers a little bit more higher. So if the person wants it by the chin, you better make sure that the shortest one is right by the chin, okay? Or even lower, the shortest layer, right? Because it kind of like flows as a kind of like a feathery effect. That's what kind of like 180 degree is. You can style it various ways, but it's very flowy. It's very light on the top and kind of like very with a lot of movements on the bottom. So I'm going to start my guide, and just like 0 degree, whatever the guide is going to be on the top, that's what I'm going to follow, okay? So keep wetting the mannequin. Now, because our mannequins are relatively short, you want to do somewhat a good amount. I know you probably can't believe I'm saying this, but because I want you to like really see it when you blow dry it. No, well, not really cut, but you want to do you want to do at least an inch to an inch and a half. Just don't go crazy because there's so much more haircuts that we need to go through it. So yeah, like kind of like what I have here, because when I bring it down, that will be my shortest, and this is technically still not considered long layer for her, but we're just gonna pretend.
To do like chin length.
Yes. Well, it will automatically fold chin length for her because she's already kind of like almost getting to shoulder or bob. So I'm going to keep my fingers parallel, and I'm going to bring my hair all the way up here, right? This is why this is called 180, right? This is 90, this is 45, and this is 0. There is no here, there is no here. It's strictly straight up. Okay, it makes a huge difference, the angle. So I'm going to stay right here, put my comb here, and see, you notice I'm on top of my fingers now. Now, if you, because eventually your shoulders are going and your biceps are going to be killing you today, because you're at the beginning, you're going to wind up keeping your fingers up because you're afraid you're gonna lose your guide, you know. But eventually, when you become a pro, you don't have to hold your arms in here. Once you have your guide set up, you can lower your fingers and cut, you know, like this. It's not gonna change the position of the hair, okay? But you're probably not gonna do that today because, you know, it's a little nerve-wracking. So now this is, I have my guide, right? It's on my hand. I'm not letting it go because it's not a zero that it's kind of like dangles on the bottom. It's on top, so I have to like have a little bit more control of it. So, and remember how I said that the trick yesterday to doing like that perfect angle is to really take little subsections as you go down? The same thing in here. If you don't want to get lost, you need to take small subsections, small partings. The smaller the partings, the more organized and the more chances of you not to mess up the cut. So I'm taking my second subsection, and what am I doing? I'm combining it with my previous one, right? Just like you're doing a zero. Remember when you bring the second one, you kind of like squeeze them together? So I'm gonna bring them up and I'm going to combine it. Okay, now do you see where my guide is? Okay, this is where my guide is that I cut before, and this is the new hair that I'm going to cut. Now notice that all this is big, right? I can't pass my second knuckle, so I have to really do that in 2 chunks. Even though technically the hair is really light, it's not, you know, not much to cut, but I have to do it in half. Pick it up again. Even if you drop the hair as you let it go, that's okay. Now I'm going to take my and do the same thing. Do not change the position of your fingers just because you took another section. Everything is going to be squeezed and put together just like you did. Now you notice already, and this is only my third piece, right? That the hair is kind of like much less and much more lighter, okay? So the same thing is going to happen in your mannequins. Really little, I see literally where my guide is and where my newer strands are. Now you notice that obviously because the bottom is shorter, it will drop, right? And it will not reach the top. Is that perfectly fine? That is perfectly fine. The bottom doesn't reach the top, let it go, okay? So if the hair was long, right? This will be able to come all the way on top, and that would be the right 180 degree, the right long layers, right? So I finished this. Here's the thing. When you're doing a layer, right, or an elevation, you have to make sure you do an additional checking. No more cross-checking like we did with the zero. We are going to do cross-checking, but we're going to do it in a different way, okay? Because once you start cutting the interior of the head, you have to cross to check the haircut the opposite way you cut it, okay? So if I cut it horizontally, I have to cross-check it vertically. So how do I do that? Okay, I'm going to comb this and I'm going to literally split it in half. If I deal with somebody that has a lot more hair, I'll probably split it in more than half, but you know, with this one you can get away with it. So this is what I'm going to do, okay? This is me checking vertically. So I'm going to bring this hair nice and slow, nice and gentle, all the way up to the same exact angle that I cut it, right? Did I hold my fingers straight up before when I cut it? So I'm holding it the same exact angle, but I'm holding it vertically now versus horizontally, right? So I'm gonna bring this over here and I'm going to make sure that my haircut is good. Do I see a straight line in here? Do you see a little cleaning in there in the corner, right? So I'm just cleaning that up. So that is me double checking the haircut. Okay, or cross-checking the haircut. So I'm going to take this second panel. This one is good. Can I cross-check this whole panel vertically if I want to? Yes? Yes, I can. She doesn't have as much hair, so I can do it still, right? So I'm just cleaning this up. So this panel is done, right? Now it's time for me to move on to the other panel. Now you have to make sure that obviously these two match, right? They have to blend, they have the same flow, the same length. So all I need to do is take a little piece from this side and give me a guide for this side. All I need is just the top and this top, and blend them together. Thank you. All right, that is my guide that I need to make it travel to this side, right? Once I have that guide on the top, I'm pretty much done. Shorter hair or on the interior. So because this is a little thick and I cannot, you know, cut it all in one shot, so all I'm going to do is kind of like split it in half. Even though it might feel like you're cutting a lot from the front, which is the truth, you are, you're going to be going through it a lot more quicker, because, you know, the amount in here with the amount in here, it's, you know, kind of like a lot less. And you will see that as soon as you finish the front, that's when you really get to realize what, you know, what the 180 does. So I have this portion here to cut. And before I do, okay, I'm going to take a little piece from the back, because I need my guide, right? I need, you know, that's my original guide that I need to follow. So I'm going to take a really small, I'm going to actually make it a little smaller because it's a little parted a little differently. Okay.
She got a line in her head right there?
No, I don't think so. Here, but not there. Okay. So real quick, right? If the hair tends to be dry at this point now, both, re-wet it so you can have a little bit more comfortability to cut. So I'm going to take my horizontal part right here. I'm continuing to take horizontal parts just like I did in the back. Shh. So I'm going to bring this up into 180 that I kind of like had before, and I'm going to take my little guide from the back. Now don't freak out, okay? It's not going to happen in your mannequin. It's just happening in mine because she had to cut a little bit more. It's your fault. So, all right. So I'm going to bring this up, and that's my guide. That's what I'm going to cut. Okay. Yours is not going to be as much, but even though technically it seems like a lot, it is not a mistake. Okay. It's, you know, that's my guide. That's the look that I'm going to get. Some people do go for a lot shorter on top. I'm going to have my guide in there, and I'm going to cut according to my guide. I can't pass my second knuckle, so I have to do this in half, right? All right, so I'm just gonna make sure that I got everything. I didn't miss any strands from this. Yeah, I did miss a little bit here in the front. So I technically don't need this piece from the back anymore. I got my guide, right? So I can take this, put it away, kind of like push it. If it's wet, it's easy to push away. If it's dry, kind of like gets in the way a little bit. So this is my guide now, right? What I'm going to do is do the same exact thing as I did in the back. I'm going to take my little partings, horizontal.
Okay, so you have to part like
and
half,
bring it
that in half first?
Yeah, because this is too wide for me to
much?
control all in one shot. So I'm going to bring this up. Pause the water, please. And that is my guide. And that's what I'm cutting. Now you're going to notice, just like you did on the back, that the hair gets lighter. But on the side, it does not disappear, okay? So you're gonna wind up cutting hair all the way to the bottom. And the reason why is because the hairline is a lot more lower in the back than it is on the side. So you're going to notice that as you go down, you will still be cutting hair. Now, because I cut it horizontally, I'm going to cross check. Vertically, right? So I'm going to take this piece and go now here, and I'm going to comb this and bring it up all the way here, just like I cut it. Now you notice, compared to the back, that a lot of hair dropped. Nothing's dropping here, right? This particular portion has completely the same length from corner to the ear, right? And now we know because it's a lot more smaller. So I finished this piece. Now I'm going to finish my all the way in the front. Now the front gets a little tricky, guys, because the head is curved in, right? So just because the head is curved in, you're not changing your guide. You're not moving your fingers. Your guide is here and it stays here, right? Straight up, right? So I'm going to take my little section here. And remember, even though this is kind of like smaller piece, this top one tends to be a little bit wider and a little bit thicker because it goes all the way kind of like close to the forehead. So be a little bit more kind of like cautious of that, to have a little bit more control. So I need a guide for this, right? Which guide I'm going to take? The one that's right next door, right? So I'm gonna pull it like this, and that would be my guide, right? You notice that this piece right here, because it's curved in, it's kind of like extends a little bit more longer than here because you're holding the same 180 degree, right? So once you get this top piece, which you probably will not be able to do it in one shot because you cannot pass your second knuckle, right? See, I did it in kind of like two chunks. You got your guide all the way through the front, okay? So I'm going to finish the front just like I did with the other section.